1.
Things shall get loud now. Such sweet cacophony. They beg for sound.
Hello, everybody. This is Pete the Headbanger bringing you the next rung. The first rung. I can remember the name of my show. Give me the squig. For the first rung, the NextRungGaming's weekly podcast about 40k, getting better at it, and beating all of your friends. But still having friends because you will be a good, polite gamer. With me, I have a special guest, Shane Watts, Mr. Custodes himself, who will be here to talk about little green golden men from space that will shoot you with hurricane bolters until you die. And sometimes they walk. Also with me, I have Rick Vieira.
Greetings.
Connor.
What's up, everybody?
And 3D Dan.
I'm Dan. I'm Dan.
So, y'all, if you watch our shows, you know us. Let's talk right about Shane. So, Shane, how'd you get started in 40K?
Well, hi, everybody. I got started in 40K, I think it was like Gen Con in the 90s. Saw them like doing a demo table, walked over, sweet pointy helmeted orcs, and bolters clutched to Marines' chests. Just thought this looks like the game I want to play. But yeah, I don't know. I've been playing a long time since then, on and off, more or less. From then was like 2nd edition, and I played all the way through like the beginning of 4th, and then stopped playing till about 6th, and then played consistently since then, more or less.
Were you playing like competitive style from 6th edition on?
I was playing, I don't know, I guess semi-pro is the best way to put it, where I was just kind of playing competitively in 6th, but I think really where I doubled down was in 7th edition.
That's awesome. That's
I do have to ask, what was your first army?
So my very first army was actually Space Wolves.
Ooh, Space Wolves.
But this is also in 2nd edition, so it's a very different game.
Why did you fall in love with them? Was it just the lore, or were they awesome? I started playing a year ago, for context.
Well, the whole like Space Vikings thing kind of had me sold. It was pretty cool back then. I mean, it's still cool now, but that's definitely what drew me.
It's cool, man. So, the internet was enamored last year when you brought 17 Custodes jet bikes to Nova and made top 16. A lot of us, me and I know Dan in particular are really, really into, like that's a goal, like reaching top 16 in Nova, kind of like a milestone kind of thing. Was that like the best you'd ever done at a major at that point?
Oh yeah. I think prior to that, I had been to LVO twice. Yeah, so I had been to LVO earlier that year, and then the LVO prior, but I hadn't done any majors before then. So getting that high in that major at Nova was definitely like an uplifting experience for sure. Even going undefeated like 4 rounds in a row, like I could feel like my heart just like pumping.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. That's awesome. So like, given the purpose of the podcast, which like I mentioned is, we all have our competitive 40K goals and everything. Everyone's is different from everybody else's. But after hitting that top 16, what was your mind state like going into tournaments after that? Like, did you like feel any different, or were you just like more confident in general about playing 40K, or was it kind of the same old story after the top 16?
I definitely think it was different, kind of on a few levels. I know a lot of times I would show up and I would want to do well, and I'd always kind of set a goal like I'm going to go, 4-1, and I'm going to be happy with that. And if I got close, I'd feel good about it. And after getting to 7th place at Nova last year, like it changed kind of how I thought about it because I'm like, well, if I can do well in this major, then why can't I do well in another major? And so it just kind of like it made the bar higher and it seemed more attainable. And since it did, I was more confident in my gameplay on top of that.
So, dig into that a little bit. Like being confident in your gameplay, is that like you think that your strategies were more, like your strategies were all like on point? Did you have like no, like there was no like wavering about decision making in a game? You kind of like go into it being like, yeah, I mean, like I know what I'm doing at this point, so like I'm not going to second guess myself as much because I know, like personally, that's something that um, that's one of my big problems. I think is I do a lot of second guessing at the table, kind of. It's like sort of what you were describing. Like I'll set a goal and I feel like I'm not achieving it. Sort of like can lead to the tilt, which I know that like a lot of people are familiar with is like that competitive mindset tilt where something goes wrong and it starts to spiral in your head. So what does that confidence kind of feel like after you do that well at a major?
So, I mean, I'm going to go a little farther down the path of what you were just talking about. So, the whole getting tilted, I think that happens to everybody. I don't think it's impossible for someone to get tilted. I think at some point in every Warhammer game, people can get tilted. How easy, it depends on the person, obviously. But the biggest thing is realizing that the game can still entirely change from where you're at then to the end of the game. So like knowing that the scope of what just happened, even if it's like absolutely upsetting to you, you just kind of have to move past it. And saying that is a lot easier than doing it for certain. But it's doable. And a lot of times I found that I kind of just have to like just calm down and then focus on what's happening, what I can do, where I can change things up. And I think you're always going to second guess yourself. I don't know if it's impossible. I think it's entirely impossible to get rid of that. Like you're always going to do it. It's just going to happen. I mean, I still second guess myself on things all the time. But really, the next time we're at a tournament, you should listen for me to just say fuck it. Because I can't tell you how many times that happens at a tournament, but I know that I do it at least once every tournament, every day. So like Ryan always like will start laughing because you'll hear me from across the room and just like chuckle. Because I'll get to that point where I'm like, is this a terrible idea? Fuck it. And every time I say it out loud, like it's never just internal.
Yeah, y'all heard it here first right now. Fuck it.
do those decisions when you make that, like for whatever reason, like a subconscious whatever, when you say fuck it, do they tend to work out for you, or have you noticed that it's 50-50?
I think more often than not it works out. Every once in a while it definitely bites me for sure.
Mhm.
But a lot of times I find that it's because I'm overthinking things. And when I get to that fuck it moment, all the overthinking goes away and I go back to the original thought.
Sure.
I like that. Yeah.
Cool. That's pretty cool. Dude,
So,
I just a brief backstory of how the show knows Shane. I've been heading up to a lot of GTs in Maryland, which is kind of where we're going to lead to because there was one this past weekend. I've been going up to Maryland since like December, I think, and playing in GTs up there. And Shane, I don't know how many. I think you've won at least one other than the Carnage of Summer that just happened. But I played Shane round 2, and I got destroyed. Every time I see him, I joke, and I'm like, "Dude, you give me like Custodes trauma, dude. I haven't been able to beat Custodes since I played you."
you should have brought a knight. It would have been fine.
I'll play Eldar, man. We have a Wraith Knight. That would be so bad.
Just a wee bit.
He's just like sick. I think he's gonna die immediately. But so it's just been going up there and seeing the whole crew. Just a shout out before, just a shout out to the Peace Through DACA guys up in Maryland. A lot of really good players. You'll see some of them on the show in the future. But without getting too much off topic, Shane, you just won the Carnage of Summer GT 32 person this past weekend. Can you talk a little bit about your rounds and sort of how those games went, and thinking about what we've just been talking about, sort of like with this different headspace you're in after getting 7th place at Nova. And I have all of the lists on my phone if you need the refresher for people's armies.
Okay. So let's see. Round 1, and actually, I'm gonna start before I talk about the rounds.
Sure.
The week before that, I just was at BAO and did not do so hot.
Yeah, but BAO for sure. Yeah.
I took 54th, I think, out of like 148, 150. So not terrible, but definitely wasn't my best moment at all. So going into this, I actually was kind of surprised that I don't know, I had untilted myself, as it were, where I just was going in fresh.
But
For round 1, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm kind of curious about BAO, if you don't mind touching on that a little bit. What was just talk about that experience a little bit, like the going out there. I don't know if that's like your first time like traveling that far for a tournament, or because I know it was also a much longer. It was like a 3-day GT, I think, it ended up for the top 8 being it for a 3-day GT. So what was that experience like going out to California and playing in the BAO, and with their, people always talk about the West Coast meta being a lot different. You got people like Don Huson running these super wacky, like all dreadnought lists. So was there anything markedly different that you noticed out there?
There is a little bit of a different meta from what I saw, and it's not the first time I've been to a California tournament. I went to SoCal last year, but it's my second time. The big thing that's kind of funny about BAO for me in my experience is that every match I had, when I got to the table and it's just like, this is going to be a crap matchup, like when I run into Tau, which is pretty much one of my hard counters, I'm like, I'm going to lose this round. And then I win. And I'm like, okay. So then I show up to, okay, I'm going to totally show you how much I scrubbed out at BAO right now. So my round 4 or round 5, I can't remember, I played pure Grey Knights and lost by 1 point.
Oh, you played that dude? Is that the dude who went 4-1? I don't know if you know.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, did he have a fucking like Land Raider?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hellland Raider and everything. Yeah. The entire time I'm like, oh, I know what this does. I know what this does. I know the tricks. Yeah, this should be easy. And then I lost.
I bet that was a sweet game, man. That would have been a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
It was an interesting game. It was a little soul crushing for me at the end, but shit happens.
Were you undefeated at that point?
No. I actually lost. Was that round 1? It might have been round 1 to a game that I was absolutely winning. It was triple knight, double crusader, 1 gallant. He had double guard battalion, and what was the end of that? I don't remember. But turn 1, I killed the gallant, and was pretty confident because I was picking up guardsmen fairly easily because hurricane bolters. The end of his turn 1, on the other hand, I had, I think, 3 bikers left total.
Oh my god! Whoa.
Yeah.
Crusaders, yeah, do that.
Knights, dude. Knights are fucking rough for everyone.
Ironically enough, normally I do well enough into the triple knight matchup, where by the time I'm tapped out, they're also tapped out.
Right.
That's not how that game went.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, dude. BA, I want to go to BA Sunday, but anyway, so the Carnage of Summer, like we were saying, just happened, and the Carnage of Summer just happened last weekend, like we were saying. So if you want to sort of take us through each of your rounds, maybe just like spending however much time you want on each round, and if you need, like I said, if you need any help remembering the lists, I have that on my phone.
Cool. All right. So round 1, I played against.
Quick question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What actually is your list for those people who don't?
Oh my God! Yes, thank you, Dan. Like
So
he plays
yes,
Custodes.
my list is a little janky compared to the popular
Wait,
Custodes.
wait, wait. It's not nothing but jet bikes.
No, it's not nothing but jet
I
bikes.
thought that
How many
was it. How does
how
that
many
work?
grav tanks do you have? You have like 7 of them, right?
Nope, nope. I have one of the small grav tanks.
No, but you have like 20 Telemons, right?
Nope,
That you can
no
squad them up. No.
Telemons.
Not even 20.
Nope, not even 20.
But you
All
can
right,
squad them up. You're like,
so I have a Custodes Outrider, which is one shield cap on a bike, the Vexilla with the -1 banner, because you have to have that, with an
Mhm.
axe, because I have points. A squad of 6 bikes, a squad of 5 bikes, so that's 12 bikes total. So it's not 17, but it's still 12. And then one
And the
Palace
small.
Grab Tank.
Okay.
Why do you have that?
So the Palace Grab Tank's a fast attack choice. So and it's only 100 points. So basically,
Okay.
I drop a bike and make it an Outrider detachment.
Okay.
Um, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I meant to. Am I cutting you off? Sorry, Shane.
All good.
So something I did actually mean to ask that I forgot about when we were talking about the Nova thing is I'm curious, going from the 17 jet bike life to where you're at now, what sort of inspired that change? Was it the FAQ? Was it the current meta? Like, how do you go? What's your thought process going from like you do really well at Nova with 17 jet bikes, and now you have a totally different, not like you have a significantly different list. So, kind of talk us through a little bit why you made those choices.
Sure. Okay, so with the 17 bikes,
Mhm.
all that really leaves you points for is your insert guard battalion for C,
Right.
which was the whole reason I had it stapled in. Really, really, the biggest thought change behind that was that guard battalion gave up kill points very easily.
Mhm.
And in an ITC meta, that's a big deal. In Nova, a little bit because Strike and Rank and File still gives up points, which is a problem, but even more so in ITC.
Sure.
Um, and one of the other things that I always felt was kind of a weakness in that list was the 3-man bike squad, because I had the 2 7-mans and a 3-man, and the 3-man never felt like it pulled its weight. And as far as transitioning, really that has to do more with me wanting to change how I was playing.
Okay.
So, like, if I ran into a knight heavy list, triple knights, Castellan with guard brigade, etc. If those bikes don't get there, then I just lose, or I just deal with everything else and just try to win off the objectives, which I don't like not having an answer for something. That's just not the way I like to play. So I've gone through a few different iterations since then of trying to have an answer to knights, basically, because that
Mhm.
tough 8 is only so good of deal withable, I should say, with bikes. Because if you don't charge and you don't have a crap ton of bikes on it, you're probably not going to kill it.
So that's interesting. You kind of went from, because I think it's coming from like a perspective as an Eldar player, right? And I know the guys will probably have some perspectives on this too. Like if you think about the Eldar meta right now, it's a lot of what you're seeing is flyers and all the mech stuff, and I think that's like a pretty heavy skew list where you're like, I have like 9 flyers. Like, can you beat this? Okay, if you can, you win. But if you can't, like if your list can't beat my list, I'm gonna win. So
Yeah.
kind of what coming from you, it's really interesting. Is you went from like a skew list of like I'm all bikes. Like, can you deal with all these bikes? Like if you can, like you have a shot. But if you can't, like I'm gonna run right over you. So it's cool that you sort of like saw this night problem and you decided to rely instead on like adding some more tools to the toolbox and relying more on player skill than being like, I have a question. This question is 17 Custodes jet bikes. Can you? That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
So what did you add in like recently? What answers?
So the current answer is a Blood Angel battalion. So it's 1 Smash Captain, obviously with Death Visions, because it's the only way you run. And a Librarian Dreadnought with 2 squads of 5-man infiltrators and 1 squad of 5-man scouts.
Oh, nice.
Mm.
Because librarian dreadnoughts are basically little knights. I like it. I like it.
really the big thing that sold me on the Librarian Dreadnought versus, say, a second Smash Captain is that he doesn't need CP. The Smash
Right.
Captain does. And when you only have one battalion and an Outrider, you don't have a lot to work with. And since I'm also stapling in an Assassin because I'm playing Imperium, that's also pulling CP out.
Right.
Right. Did you find that the two CP change to from one CP to two CP for doing the requisition stratagem, did that ever give you pause whether or not you're going to take the assassin, or is it just so much of an auto take that you just bite every time?
I know when I saw the change that I wasn't going to be happy about it, but the assassin adds way too much utility to not keep.
Sure, makes good sense. So I know that we last time I think I was up there. You were talking about the infiltrators and the palace in particular for Gene Stealer Cult. Tell us a little bit about that, if that's still the case.
So the infiltrators are a great counter to Genestealer Cult because you can't cult ambush within 12 of them, period.
Right.
So they can use the strat to move D6, which is fine, but at that point they're just closer to my infiltrators, which either have bikes behind them or are off on their own, and at that point I probably don't care.
Very cool. The Graph has a -2 charge thing as well, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into next. The Palace has that grav backwash, so -2 to all charging targets.
Ooh.
So effectively, the infiltrators plus that Palace basically give me an unassailable by Genestealer Cult shenanigans section of my army. And if I'm going into something that has a lot of Angry Rocksaws or Aberrants or Jackal, I'm going to throw a million grenades at you, Star. At that point, I can literally just put a ring of infiltrators around my Custodes and just be like, nah.
Nah, bro. Sorry about you.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Tau players for a while at LVO were transitioning to use piranhas kind of as preliminary screen target. Is that kind of like in the same headspace for the Palace? Or Palace?
Kind of, yeah. And the Palace, again, was more of a staple in because it's that last cheap fast attack choice. But the
Correct.
fact that it has that extra on top makes it just nice.
I dig it. I dig it. I think
Do
you
you
should
think-
run 3 of those.
Yeah. No, probably not going to happen.
So now we know the list. Now we know why the list. You got any questions, Rick or Peter? I'm moving too quickly through this. You guys, anything you want to chime in?
No, I'm just anxious to hear about the rounds. We've
Yeah.
stopped and started that.
Twice not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So Shane, if you wanna dive into your rounds, bro.
All right,
Yeah.
take 3. So Tyranids round 1 against Jeff. I can't remember his last name for the life of me, but I remember his first name was Jeff. He was running, I want to say Kronos was his hive fleet. He had an Exocrine, 3 DAC effects, which was kind of different, but was something. 2 Flyrants, a Trigon, a bunch of Devgons that hang out with the Trigon, a Turbogon, and Rippers. I wasn't super worried because honestly, I think Tyranids is my best matchup.
Mm.
A lot of times they want to be close to me in order to do what they need to do. I'm more durable than they are, and I punch better than they do. So really, it just was kind of a matter of attrition. I just pushed into the center of the board, held the objectives in my backfield with infiltrators. He countercharged with the Flyrants. I didn't stoop because I warned him about the stoop because I don't like Gotcha Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
He went first with one of his. I interrupted with my other squad and murdered the other Hive Tyrant. I think he killed maybe like 3 bikes total between the 2 Flyrants, and I think it was the Turbogon also jumped in on that. And basically by the end of his turn, most everything was almost entirely dead. I think the Turbigon was the only survivor of that combat. And it just kind of rolled into him from there because most of his counter charge is gone. I
Right.
still have my Smash Captain full up. The bikes are mostly intact. So just bad news bears.
Yeah.
Would a gene stealer bomb have scared you more?
No, actually, I found the Gene Stealer bomb is a trap. Because they're only winning me on 5s at -1. I'll take maybe 6 to 8 wounds tops, and then I'm gonna murder that Gene Stealer squad.
Right.
Rough.
Swish,
Yeah.
if you're watching this,
Or
I'm sorry.
Custodes.
Nice.
How about round 2? What did you have?
Let's see, round 2.
I
That
can
one I
pull that up.
need a jog memory on round 2.
Yeah, I got you. So round 2, you played, I believe it was Katie Bishop.
Oh, that's right. I played Katie.
Yeah.
So she's playing a Latok Eldar with a little bit of Oathway, because she had Eldred.
I can
So
run the list real quick for the folks
sure.
to help jog your memory too. So it was we had an Autark with the Autark Warlord who was just stock and had the movement, the +2 movement Warlord trait. You had a Spirit Seer. You had 3x5 Dire Avengers. She's actually running 8 Shining Spears and then 3 Fire Prisms and 2 Crimson Hunter Exarchs. And that is in a Laytok battalion. And then we had an Ulthway battalion with Eldrad, double Warlock on foot, 20-man Guardian Blob, and 2x5 Rangers for 2,000 points exactly. And that was the list.
So we played Dawn of War or Pointy Dawn of the War, 1 and 2. I don't remember which off the top of my head. She put all of her fire prisms in one corner and basically had all the psychers in that same corner. And I had centrally deployed because I knew that she would either split or go towards one side. I pushed into the center of the table. She buffed up her Shining Spears, countercharged with the Shining Spears on both squads. With her shooting and the charge combined, I actually only came out of that with 2 bikes in one squad, 1 bike in the other squad, and then my characters. And this is going into my turn 2, where I'm like utterly convinced that I've just lost this game.
Right.
So this gets into the whole like thinking you're tilted and just trying to get past it and keep playing to win anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was just like, well, I probably just lost because I have no bikes, but you know what? I'm going all in anyway. She had managed to pull in my Smash Captain and my Shield Captain into that combat. Excuse me. Oh, that's right. No, I'm sorry. I misspoke. She pulled the Shield Captain in. I put the Smash Captain in, thinking that the Smash Captain would kill enough because of a 4 damage hammer. That did not go the way it was supposed to go. So I have all these attacks that go into the Shining Spear squad. The Smash Captain goes into the Shining Spear squad of 8, and she loses 3 Shining Spears total.
Ooh.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, well, let's see. All I have to do is kill like 4 more. She'll fail the morale, or she'll pop the 2 to auto pass, but something will be unengaged. So I pop the 3 to fight again with the Smash Captain. 0 more die.
Jeez.
Oh.
That's shocking.
Yeah. Definitely not the way it was supposed to go in my head, at least.
It's Eldar fuckery. I totally understand it.
So, like I said, I tilt at that point, but I realize I need to keep playing. So my turn 2 rolls. Against my better judgment, I pull the Smash Captain out with the stratagem. Put it 9 inches away from one of the flyers, which is closer to the fire prisms. I take all the 3 bikes remaining, and I left the Shield Captain, but the 3 bikes leave to go DACA into troops to get them out of the way, then get kills, because getting kills is slightly important in ITC. The Librarian Dreadnought I position to threaten the fire prisms if I can get wings off, and if not, just turn around and go into the Shining Spears. She's able to deny my wings, so I don't get that off. So he goes into the Shining Spears. Infiltrators and scouts are sitting on objectives. My advancing infiltrator squad, which I had started deployed in one of the middle pieces of terrain, I end up going to her far objective where most of her army is not, that just has the Dire Avengers sitting on it, and basically attempt to steal it. So I bring in my Custodes, 9 inches away from 2 Warlocks and a Spirit Seer.
Oh god.
And I couldn't get any closer, so I couldn't shoot them first. So I shot a Fire Prism, because I'm like, mortal wounds are mortal wounds. I think I deal 1 to that Fire Prism. So then going into the charging, Smash Captain fails his 9-inch rerollable charge. Custodes fails her 9-inch charge. The Librarian Dreadnought, which is 3 inches away from the Shining Spears, almost fails.
Oh.
And that's all my chargers. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's good. I'm gonna kill these Shining Spears. So I pick up the Shining Spears. My Vexilla had gone into them as well, so that way I could get closer to those spikes, so that way they could provide -1. And I had also kind of slung that 2-man back just a little bit just in case I fuck that up. So her turn 2, I figure the Slam Captain's dead. I figure the Custodes is dead, and then it's just going to be me trying to vainly get into that corner. Her turn, she's only able to kill the 3 bikes. Everything else survives.
Oh no. Oh no.
So my turn comes back around, and Slam Captain goes in on a Fire Prism, and also Eldrad, because Eldrad was inside of the ruin right next to that Fire Prism, so I could be within one of both.
Nice.
Custodes goes into 2 Warlocks. Or actually, no, excuse me. Custodes goes into Eldrad and a Warlock. Me thinking that she's gonna kill Eldrad with that whole like I ignore your invulnerable saves. All the bikes push in to that ruin and just start mowing down troops. I couldn't get them in to like charge things because they were basically behind troops. So the Slam Captain ends up cleaning up the Custodes' mess because the Custodes leaves Eldrad with like 1 wound. So I just have him do one boop through the wall into Eldrad, and the rest go into the Fire Prism. So the Fire Prism goes up. Eldrad gets booped, thank God. And then he piles into another Fire Prism. I know full well that it's still going to be able to shoot, but at least it can't advance, and it's got to move, etc. Bikes basically kill almost all the troops in that building where that objective is. That infiltrator squad that was trying to get Frisky ends up stealing that objective. And it just kind of ends up being a mop-up. She keeps picking up stuff of mine. I basically hold everything on the ground, and I've killed most of her important things. It's just like a total slugfest at the end. But I just win on attrition and the fact that I'm holding like every objective.
Right.
Nice. That's cool you pulled that out. Good.
Let's see. Round 3.
I believe it was either Patrick or it was Ken.
It was Patrick. Yeah, because I played Ken day 2.
Then I'll run Patrick's list for the folks real quick. So we have Iron Hands Strachan. This is a Catachan. Looks like a Catachan battalion. We got Strachan. We got a company commander with Grand Strategist. We have 3 infantry squads with a mortar. We got 2 Hellhounds. And then we have another battalion of Catachan with company commander and a primary psyker. 3 more squads of infantry. So we're looking at 60 guardsmen total. And then Patrick brought a Castellan, a Gallant, and a Helverin. That's 1998 points. And he also has points left over for an Assassin. And that's the list.
Yep. So Patrick and I ended up having a really, really good game, and it was a super slugfest. We had pointy hammer and anvil, so I think it's spearhead assault as our deployment. Of course, the Castellan's in the back, like it should be. All my bikes are on the starting line. I have infiltrators pushed mostly up, and my scout's hiding in the back because he has mortars and indirect fire. I think he gets the first turn, pushes the Gallant all the way forward, turn 1 charge on bikes. I have an opportunity to stoop, but I didn't really want it, so I didn't take it. Because really, since his Gallant took Sanctuary, all of my bikes in 1 turn aren't going to kill it anyway.
Okay, cool.
So the Gallant picks up 2 out of the 5-man bike squad. 3 of them survive. I think I took some wounds on the third one. Then going into my turn, I leave them in combat. I basically push everything forward, trying to still get into the Gallant. He has guardsmen in the center of the table. I bring the Librarian Dreadnought around to where the 3-man bike squad is against the Gallant, because I want the Librarian Dreadnought to fight this thing.
Oh yeah.
So the Librarian Dreadnought goes in, takes the Gallant down to like, I think 2 wounds. Actually, no, not quite. That's right. I took it down pretty far. I think it's like I took it down to 10-ish wounds, I think, in the first go. And it turns around and just murks the Librarian Dreadnought, as expected, because I don't have an invuln safe. Pop 2 CP to fight again. That's when I take the Gallant all the way down to 2 or 3 wounds remaining. Then I fight with the Bike Squad. Bike Squad finishes off the Gallant. Mission accomplished. Stuff in the middle gets picked up by me because I'm basically killing guardsmen. I end up piling into a Hellhound that's also right there just to make it fall back. His turn, he pushes the Hellhound forward. His Helverin comes sweeping around. Castellan just has lots of bodies in front of it. He ends up picking up quite a few bikes with the Castellan in this next turn. I basically try to vainly push towards the Castellan for the majority of the rest of the game with the Smash Captain trying to hide behind him. He keeps moving far enough away that the Smash Captain can never quite get there, so I end up sending the Smash Captain into the Helverin instead. He obviously just picks that up. And I didn't really have the CP to redeploy him at this point because I had used most of it. By the end of that game, there is the Castellan left over with like 2 wounds because I was able to get in there with some bikes. And he did probably a good 8 or 9 mortal wounds to himself over the course of the game with overcharging the plasma. So there's the Castellan. There's my Smash Captain left alive. And I have like 2 infiltrators. And that's it. And then he has that Castellan. There was a Hellhound and there's one other model. Because there's literally like 6 models left on the table at the end of that game.
Oof.
And it just was a matter of me denying kills to get kill more and just having better board coverage. He did really well. He was able to basically keep me away from the Castellan the whole game, which is a big deal because the Castellan hard counters Custodes really bad.
So I had a quick question as the resident night player. And I know Patrick is a teammate, if I'm not mistaken. How do you guys feel about the Castellans currently after? Do you think they're still viable?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the Castellan at all. I think it is still perfectly viable the way it is. The 100-point increase is easy for any guard player to find. As far as the 4-up invuln is a big change for sure, but since the perceived notion is that everybody's moving away from it now, there's a lot less that's going to take advantage of the fact that it only has a 4-up invuln now.
Gotcha.
Sure.
I'm just it's very cool to hear someone of your caliber is
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's still very viable. It's
Yeah.
more in line with what it should be,
Yeah, no,
but I still think it's very viable.
absolutely. What was round 4?
So
That was-
round,
that was- So I got the Ken is a nasty Tau player from Maryland, and Ken runs sort of a classic sort of Tau build. He's got a battalion of Tau Sept with an enforcer commander with 3 cyclic ion blasters and a drone controller, and ethereal. And then he's got 3 strike teams with the Shazwi having a marker light. And then we have an outrider detachment of another enforcer commander with 4 cyclic ion blasters. And then we've got 3 units of 12 drones, 8 being shield, 4 being marker, and the 2 other squads have only 3 markers instead of 4. They still both have 8 shield drones, so that's 24 shield drones on the board. And then we've got a Vanguard with triple Riptide and a hazard support team with 4 shield drones and 2 hazard suits with advanced targeting system and 2 double-barreled burst cannons. And I caught the end of this game. It looked like it was an intense affair.
Yeah, so Tau is my worst matchup, period. And my buddy Ken is one of the better Tau players that I've played against. And going into this match, I'm already like, if I come out with a draw, I'm happy. So Ken and I have played a lot. I think out of all the games we've played, I've won 1 and drawn once, which thankfully that draw before this last tournament was the most recent game we had. So I was just like, if I draw, I'm in here. So we had Hammer and Anvil deployment. I centrally deployed 1 bike squad with pretty much all the characters. Infiltrators were farther in front of them out of line of sight. I had another squad of infiltrators on an objective out of line of sight, and my scouts were playing Project Protect the Vexilla from a Cold Star commander with fusion. So my last bike squad, the 6-man, I had pretty much in my backfield, like almost as far away as possible, but out of line of sight. Because one thing I've found in my Tau matchups is that if I try to hide everything close, it's like impossible. It's too big of a footprint. There's just too many bikes. But since most of the Tau stuff is short ranged, I can hide what I can, and then the rest can just sit out of range. Because I'm moving 14 or 20 on my turn anyway.
Right.
So we roll off for the first turn. He pretty much has most of his stuff centrally deployed. I win the roll off, and I decide to go first. And that's kind of one of those moments where I was talking about earlier, where it's like, is this the right answer? Fuck it. This is what I'm doing. So I go first. Ken decides not to seize, which didn't surprise me. I take that front squad and I push it farther into the line of sight, blocking stuff in the middle. The back squad basically moves 20 into the position of where the last squad was. Vexilla maintains range on both of them, so that way he's providing his bonus as long as necessary. And I peek the palace out just enough to try and get a kill. The palace, in all of its wisdom, did not kill a fire warrior squad, so that made me sad. But that's okay, because it's the palace, and I don't expect it to kill anything anyway. So his turn rolls around. He moves forward to try and get line of sight on the bikes in the middle. All the drones obviously are with all of this mess, because he's just in one giant death ball of I dare you to charge me, bro. And he takes some pot shots into the squad in the middle and doesn't really do a lot. He takes some pot shots at the palace and takes it down to, I think, 3 wounds, but doesn't kill it. And then most of the rest of his shooting is fairly ineffective. So both of us just kind of like slap each other around turn 1 and don't really do much of anything. My turn 2, I realized that because of where I'm at now, basically I'm in the fucking mouth of the lion. I have to go in. So I push one bike squad up, and I again push it as much out of line of sight as possible. I bring the other squad up basically into that same spot again, where I'm just kind of leapfrogging on this line of sight terrain until I'm going to be like all the way in. And kill off some fire warriors, kill off a bunch of drones. I pretty much obliterate one drone squad this turn, like in its entirety. I took the Everser assassin, and I did not bring him in yet. He's still kicking around, going, "What am I doing?" Ken swaps back to in front of where that front squad is, and basically obliterates it, just removes it from the game. He ends up having the fusion commander left to shoot, and goes, "Oh, there's no bikes in front of this librarian dreadnought? Bye." So that gets vaped. The hazards come down in my backfield and start trying to kill off infiltrators, and they kill off a few. But my backfield still is pretty secure. I still am sitting on most of the objectives. I'm still getting hold more, kill more, which is typical with Tau. Is those first 2 to 3 turns, hold more, kill more is very doable. It's just after that third turn is always the question.
Right.
So my turn 3, I just go all in with everything. I move the 6-man bike squad as close to one of the Riptides as possible. One of them had a 3-up invul, and the one in front, there was one off to the side that only overcharges gun. So that's the one I basically tried to go all in on. Move the Slam Captain over there, move the Shield Captain over there. I brought the Eviscer in near drones, but also near one of the commanders. So I start off with the charge from the Slam Captain because he can't get overwatched. Now Ken has played this game with me once before, where I charge with the Slam Captain and like get within 1 of multiple Riptides. So this time around, he has put models in all of that space, so that way I can't do this again. And he's made sure that they're models that I can't shoot either, because last time he tried that with drones, and I just killed the drones. So now there's characters in those spots. So I can only engage 1 Riptide at a time, regardless of where I end up.
Okay.
So I roll the charge range, and I roll just short of one of the Riptides. I'm still able to get into melee, and I'll be able to pile into that Riptide, the one I want even, but I can't get within 1 to stop it from overwatching.
Oof.
So then I follow in with the bike squad, and everything rains hell. Ken kind of had some bad dice on this one. I kind of had some good dice on this one. We ended up doing the math on the back end, and I should have lost 3 bikes, I think is what we figured out on Overwatch. I lost 1.
Ooh.
Damn.
So the bikes make it in. The shield captain goes in right afterwards, and I make sure that I have space for the shield captain to go between bikes, so that way when he falls back, he can't target the shield captain without shooting bikes first.
Mhm.
The Eviscer makes it in now that everyone shot Overwatch. He goes in on drones and one of the commanders, one of the Ion commanders.
Mhm.
So net result of this mass melee is all the drones over there die,
Right.
every single one. I deal just enough damage to kill the Riptide I charged. The Eviscer helps finish off with those drones and ends up just hanging out by the commander. I realize that I can fight again with the Slam Captain and actually mean something with it because all these drones are dead. So I pile in to that same commander that the Everser's on and just squish him.
Right.
So at this point, all the drones are dead, 1 commander's down, and a Riptide's down. And I'm like, this could still be a game. So his turn, he starts picking stuff up, as expected. and it's getting super tight. I'm trying to remember what ends up surviving on this, because there's a little bit left on both of our sides, and I end up picking up. Oh, I want to say the Slam Captain lived, because I remember I still ended up picking up pretty much the rest of his characters. All he had left really at the end was the two Riptides and the hazards in my backfield that I basically was ignoring. So he ends up advancing those Riptides up to take objectives. Most of my stuff's dead. And I just end up winning on the fact that I still have. Oh, that's right. I had the 3 bikes and the Vexilla and the Shield Captain left at the end. How the fuck did that happen? Because both of us are like, we have no time left because we're playing on the clock, and both of us are thinking like super hard, so we're using a lot of time. And my last turn, I think I had like 10 seconds, so I literally just measure out distance to this objective, pick up my bikes, and just drop it on this objective, and I'm like, cool, I'm done.
Nice.
So that game ends up being 24-22 in my favor, like super close.
Oof.
Super close.
That's fantastic. So awesome win, and then you move on to the finals, GT. And in the finals game, you played Scott Horace, who is running a battalion detachment of Catechin with the dreaded triple tank commander with 3 battle cannons, 30 guardsmen, another battalion of Catechin with Iron Hand Strachan and a company commander, 30 guardsmen. He has a big Bogren unit, 4 slab shields, 4 brute shields, and a bonehead, 2 astropaths, and then he ran a spearhead with Pask and what looks like, 2 basilisks in a heavy weapons team. And Scott's a really good guard player. Did really good at LVO last year. So this was a pretty sweet finals game. And it's from the report after at the tournament, it seems like it was very, very intense.
Yeah, so Scott, he took 7th at LVO, even though he didn't make it into the top 8. He was part of the ghost round for the cutoff, but he still scored high enough that he still was in the top 8 after all the scoring was done. So he's pretty good. And he has been running tank commanders pretty much ever since I've known him. So it's kind of funny that people are like catching on that tank commanders are a thing.
The point drop definitely helped.
Sure, of course, definitely. So we had search and destroy as our deployment. Both of us know each other fairly well. We played quite a few times. He was talking to me about trying to figure out how far he would have to go if he had his Bulgrin toeing the line and he had the first turn for a charge, like corner to corner, basically, from our weird quarters deployment. And that worried me a little bit because those Bulgrin are designed to basically keep me locked up, because that's what they do. So we both set up. I think we were playing an even mission, so I'm pretty sure it was set up everything and then choose to go first, or you set it up. You set up first, you go first. And I think I ended up being that person to decide. So I decided I wanted to go first because I want way less turns from those tank commanders shooting me, because there's no juju, just no good there. So I pretty much put everything on the line. Most of it's still out of line of sight to a degree because of the way that the terrain was set up with the L's and everything. He puts almost all of his stuff in the back. He has guard spread out to make it so I can't do any shenanigans with turn 1 charges from slam captains from space. He has a guardsman squad right on the edge of his deployment, like as close to me as possible, and then right behind them are Bulgrin. And when I saw him put him there, I was kind of, I guess, confused as to what his methodology was. I mean, having the Bulgrin that far forward is good in the fact that it makes it harder for me to avoid them, but it also puts them in danger. So I chose to go first, obviously, because I played first. And he tried to seize and did not seize. Both of us chose Calidus Assassins for this. I mostly chose it because I knew he'd be wanting to use stratagems, and then also maybe he could sneak in and kill like company commander or something for some CP. I think he chose his thinking that that would be good because I have a lot of invuln saves for my characters. So, well, I guess a Calidus is probably a good counter to Smash Captain if it can get in.
And command point, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't use a lot of command points unless it's like me using the Smash Captain, and that's generally not turn one for me.
Mhm.
So, I end up going first. I start doing a lot of pre-measuring before I even move anything because we're trying to talk through things to make sure we both agree on distances and how far we have to go. Um, one of my squads, I basically end up measuring exactly where the front and back of my base would be, which basically put me at a 6-inch charge to that front guard squad, an 8 to the Bulgrin behind it. So once we agreed on that, I basically start positioning these bikes. The second bike squad, I basically just shove into that center of that piece of terrain, at a line of sight from the from all the tank commander shenanigans, just kind of like how I did against Ken with the Tau. As we're going through doing all this, I shot and murdered like one guard squad in my shooting phase, so I got a kill in the shooting phase, which is really all I wanted, just to make sure I had one kill, one locked in. I have that bike squad that I've measured so meticulously charge both the guardsman and the Bulgrin.
Mhm.
So I roll a 7 for the charge, so I can't quite get within one of the Bulgrin. So I put that front biker as close to the Bulgrin as possible, and I position all the rest of the bikers in a way so that way their pile-in can take them within one of that one biker, except for like 2 that I'm maintaining for bubbles for like the Vexilla, and if I'm able to wrap that front guard squad. So I pile in, I end up getting 4 of those bikes swinging on the Bulgrin, and then I make sure none of them can swing on the guardsmen themselves because I want to wrap these guardsmen. This is entirely the idea behind it because he had spaced them out enough to where I could actually capture one. They weren't base to base.
Uh-huh.
So I end up killing. I think I killed 4 Bulgrin on this first go because I think it was a 9-man, right, Connor?
Diamond, yeah.
Yeah, so I killed 4 because remember he had 5 when he finally got to swing back. And with my consolidate move, trap a guardsman. So his Bulgrin swing back and the guardsmen swing back, and they kill one bike out of that squad. So I just pick up one that's in the middle, not doing shit.
Mhm.
So now he has Bulgrin locked in combat. He has a trapped guardsman that he can't fall back with, and really he can't see any of the rest of my stuff that matters. So he starts trying to move things around. He shoots all of his artillery into the bike squad that he can't see. Casts all his buffs up on the Bulgrin, and basically is trying to stop me from my shenanigans. So his combat goes through. I go down to 2 bikes left in that squad. So he basically has killed another 3 in that combat.
Mhm.
I think I take the Bulgrin down to 3, so I kill 2 more Bulgrin in that combat, and I don't swing on the guardsman because there's no point. But one thing he does do in his turn is he combines squads, that squad I had locked, with another squad. I think the idea was to try and get more attacks, but I'm not sure. So my turn rolls around. The squad that's been hiding, I move across, and I make it so I have a biker on one side of that guard squad and a biker on the other side. And it's where he has a coherency gap, so that way I can still be outside of one with both bikes. And they charge into this Bulgrin. So now I have the 2 remaining bikes plus 5 more bikes that are all trying to get into this bullshit.
Mhm.
So I position again to make it so the now 5-man squad can also trap a guardsman from that same squad, but still be outside of one. So I'm still not swinging on that guard squad. I pick up all of the Bulgrin. I kill let's see, I kill Strachan, because Strachan was also there. He was one of the things I charged with the 5-man. And a company commander, I think, because I know the priest survived with 1 wound. So my 2-man squad has to swing on the guardsman because he's basically pulled the Bulgrin out. I've killed them on combat with the blue squad. So I end up just swinging with fists and not re-rolling anything because I want to keep these guardsmen alive because they're trapped. But he manages to fail 2 saves, so 2 guardsmen die. So he pulls one of the ones I have trapped by the new 5-man, and random miscellaneous another one. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I have the Vexilla within 12. I can throw a Tanglefoot in his movement phase, and if I roll well enough, he's not going anywhere. And I had the CP to
No.
reroll it if I needed.
Hmm.
You didn't you?
So his turn rolls around, and before he can start his movement phase, I Tanglefoot him, and I roll a 3. And at first, I'm concerned because I'm like, he might still have enough movement to get away. Because effectively, this squad is in between 2 bike squads. So they still have to get out.
Right.
And at first, he's fairly certain he can get out. And we kind of start doing using extra guardsmen to see where they would be and kind of daisy chase them. And I'm like, this dude is not getting out. And I point to one where there's no way with a 3-inch move, he's not going to be within 1. So we agree that he's screwed. So he has a whole nother combat where he's forced to stay with me. So those guardsmen do their best to swing into the red bike squad, the one that's damaged, that's just had those 2 left. I don't think he kills one. I think they just stay the way they are. And then I proceed to put every attack I can into that guard squad and the couple of characters that were remaining in contact with the fresh squad. One company commander survives against the fresh squad. All the guardsmen die. Everything else dies. So now I have 2 bikes plus all my characters still that can charge new things. And the 5-man that's now, I think, a 4-man basically can just fall away and shoot. Or fall back and shoot. I'm getting low on time at this point. And I start just trying to make fast moves because I spent a lot of extra time doing all these precise movements, doing all the pre-measuring and agreeing on things. So I end up picking up a tank commander with the slam captain that turn because he's able to basically just get over there and destroy it. Bikes end up killing a bunch of guardsmen that are left. I had oh, that's right, I forgot about that. So turn 2, my librarian Dreadnought kind of went on his own and did a spirit quest to go blow up a tank commander on his own. So I had gotten wings off turn 1 and then tried to position as far forward as possible, but still like far enough away that I wasn't getting sniped by tank commanders because I had the front line of bikes and everything still going. So my turn 2, I made sure I moved and stayed outside of 24 of his psychers, cast wings again, which put me 9 inches away from a tank commander. And then I also got off quickening, which meant I had a 6-inch rerollable charge on this tank commander. So needless to say, he did not survive contact. And then one thing I also forgot to highlight, and this part of where the whole tense thing came up, Connor, that you mentioned. Turn 1, I tapped out Scott of CP with my Khaled.
No.
He used 6 stratagems over the course of my first turn and his first turn.
Holy shit.
Out of those 6 stratagems, 4 times I made him use an extra CP.
No.
Wow.
Wow.
So he had no CP going into turn 2.
That'll do it.
That will do.
That'll do it.
So Librarian Dreadnought ends up paying for his crimes because one of the other tank commanders goes and blows him up, which no surprise, but he did his job. So more or less, he has Pask and another tank commander left. 1 or 2 basilisks left, like a couple of mortars, and that's like it. And I clock out, basically. But I'm so far ahead that me being clocked out, even with him having turns 4, 5, and 6 to play on his own, he still can't make up the points.
Ouch.
Jesus. Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
And
it was intense for sure.
then you won that GT. Whew, dude, that's sick, man. Wow, dude.
I do have one question. How do you think your matchup with Ryan Christensen on the Mectow?
So the Mectal, specifically Ryan's list in general, is very reliant on first turn.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes first, his chance of winning is very high. And knowing that I can't really hide very well from that because range is not really a problem for him,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a choice in that matchup. I have to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes down to who has first turn. Because if I have
Okay.
first turn, I'm gonna make it, and if I make it, that's bad juju for him.
Right. Okay. Just because I
Like,
know Mectow's kind of coming to the scene, and I'm always interested in.
It's a really good list. It's very much the Alpha Strike list. It's I'm gonna hurt you as hard as possible turn one,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can do the same thing to me, it's just a matter of who goes first.
Right. Well, congratulations, sir.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Again, on the
that was
narrative as well as actually winning.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question for you,
Sure.
sir. What? And this goes back to a couple episodes we did a couple episodes ago. Yeah. How do you list build? How did you go from like from iteration to iteration to iteration, going from all bikes all the time to what you're running right now?
So a lot of it has to do with trying to play the mission, trying to have answers for other armies, and then the third factor in there is me. Is like I like to play a certain kind of way. So with the 17 bikes, it's really good against hordes, but not so good against armor. And my answer to armor before was, well, I'm just going to punch it in the face with Custode bikes, and that's enough. But when it's like all tough 8, that only works so well. So that's how I kind of like shifted into bringing something for my anti-tough 8. And a lot of those options are shooting options, and Custodes have shooting options for that now. The Caladius and the Telemon both do that job very well. But I like to punch things in the face, which is
yeah.
really what led me to play these Blood Angels, because it does the same job. It's a melee option, which has its own strengths and weaknesses. It just drives with my playstyle a little bit more. And what I found is that you really have to pay attention in how you use it. It's not just kind of like well, I move this to an objective and I shoot your dude. It's this model has to be able to get in there and hopefully survive doing his job. And since he's so reliant on those character rules to stay alive, you really have to position the rest of your army to complement that, or be prepared to lose it. And what I found is those times where I was prepared to lose it was the wrong time to lose it.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And you're going to the War on the Berg GT tomorrow.
This weekend, yeah.
Is your list changing all for the war?
No, it's exactly the same.
So he's gonna repeat and go 5-0. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to fill out my list.
So how much do you think you've grown as the past year?
Probably quite a bit. The amount of Warhammer I've played in the last like year is more than I've played in the last like 5.
So how
Like this-
how many games do you get in a week, including tournaments or not?
Honestly, most of my games right now are tournaments. Because there's a tournament like every weekend, either here or in Virginia.
Right.
Since LVO, I've only taken 2 weekends off.
Nice.
Wow.
I am jealous, sir. I am very jealous. I get 4 to 5 games in a week most of the time, but that's very hard because I cannot.
Well, and see, that's kind of like I don't have a lot of time to play during the week, so
Mhm.
that my tournaments are kind of my 4 to 5 games.
Right.
So if I'm playing a 3-game RTT, that's what I'm getting for the week.
Yeah.
And I found that trying to go to RTTs I haven't been to before or areas I haven't been to before is beneficial because I'm playing against people I don't know.
New people.
A new crop, new faces, new list ideas.
Connor, you hear he's saying the same things I said. I like him.
Hell yeah, dude. It's Mr. Warhammer, dude.
There were a couple questions that I had from a couple friends that are they're very big fans of yours. Mostly surrounding kind of like where you see the future of Stoves, kind of England. Do you think that they're going to be viable moving forward, like as a codex build? And how much of that do you think revolves around beta rules kind of settling it?
So I definitely think that Custodes are viable as mono right now, but I 100% think that it's shored up by the beta rule. Those
Okay.
beta units are really critical for a long range anti tank role, which we just don't have.
Right.
And as far as mono versus non mono, I think Custodes are the same as every other faction that has a choice of soup. Like you're only better with soup. Like
Mhm.
having something else to add in to shore up your weaknesses will always be better than just playing what you have.
Okay.
Um, but that said, mono custodes is still very good. It just there's going to be times where you run into something you don't have an answer for, and you just have to be prepared for that.
One of the follow-up questions to that, someone was asking, what do you think of the viability of Custo Guardian for like Nova, where kills aren't quite as important, but they're hard to move off of objective.
So one of the other custode builds, which doesn't really rely on the forge rolled units, but does get better with the forge rolled units, is the Footstodes build.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna give props to Eric Trock for really like taking this home, where he really stuck with this concept of Footstodes. So there's still a very good merit in having a backbone of guardians. Um, the biggest thing is if you're going to have a Footstodes list or something driven along that, is you need to have some sort of forward pressure. So that's where you're going to get Terminators or something
Mhm.
else. And the Aquilon answer that question really, really well.
Okay.
So do
But
you
that
if you're using any of those kind of units, Shane, or you like
I prefer the bikes just because I really like mobility. As good as the Aquilon are and as good as the Footstodes list is, I just prefer fast. Fast and aggressive is really like my favorite play style. I mean, you can be aggressive with Footstodes, but you don't quite have the fast
the
that you do
reach,
with the
yeah.
bikes.
What is your favorite beta to use, Pals?
So what's funny is I have a feeling that if I was to say, actually, I'm gonna say the unit one way or the other. But if Jeff Robinson were to come back and listen to this, he probably would just be like, "Shame upon you." So
No
my
problem.
favorite Forge World unit for the beta stuff for them right now is the Sagittarium Guard, actually, which is the heavy
Nice.
support, heavy bolter unit.
Yeah.
Um, they are 3 points more than a regular Custodian Guardian, and better in a lot of ways.
Right.
You give them Misericordias, and it's actually a unit that's worth giving a Misericordia, which is amazing in and of itself to me.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for the fact that they were heavy support, I would think that they are like pound for pound the best unit that we have. But the fact that they're heavy
Really?
support, it just kind of drags them down.
Right.
and well, these are like guardians these are like custodian.
These are the ones with the wings, right? Or
No, those are the Venatari.
Oh, those are Atari.
So the Sagittarium are the Custodian Guard that have giant bolters and they don't have melee weapons.
Yeah.
And effectively, it's a heavy bolter that they're carrying around that's an assault weapon, so you can advance and shoot it. And it also is a combi, and the combi is like a ghetto grav.
Huh.
Nice.
Just fun.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So after LVO, I really wanted to test the Forge World units because I hadn't really got a chance. And so I was making lists that were strictly Forge World units. And every time I went back to the Sagittarium Guard and was just like, where can I put this in this list?
Right.
Because they were just so good every time.
What do you
Well,
think of
good to know.
the Orion dropship?
So the Orion is really, really fucking funny for one. It's kind of a trap a little bit because it's basically a knight, but it doesn't melee. And because of that, the fact that it doesn't melee kind of draws it back a little bit. But the fact that it's a super heavy flyer that can hold objectives when it's in flyer mode just makes me fucking laugh.
Right.
And transport. And transport.
Yeah, the transport's not that necessary. It's Custodes. But the thing that's funny, so I made a total skew list to play against a friend just to test the Orion, where it was 2 Orions, 2
Oh,
squads of Aquilon, Trajan, Avexilla, and I think that was it.
Jesus.
And it just was just funny. Just
Right.
everything about it was just funny.
I don't want to play against it. Funny or not. Stay away.
Well, to jump on the Orion, one last thing. A total skew list that I came up with a different friend, which I thought I would bring to an RTT sometime, but it may or may not happen, is 3 Gallants and 2 Orions.
you.
God. And that's where my 3 Castellans came into play. Oh wait, I can't do that anymore. God damn it.
Dude, that is absurd. Do you own an Orion?
So I have an Orion, and a friend has an Orion, and that friend is willing to let me use his Orion.
Right.
So I have access to 2.
You have 2 Orion gunships.
That's
There's evil in the world, and then we found this.
Oh my god.
So I guess my last question, basically, kind of not tied strictly to Custodes, is what do you think of the meta currently? I know it's open ended, but like, what are your general feelings on it, and what do you think is kind of strong or moving forward?
Well, I think the meta is good right now. I think the only problem I have is that they basically invalidated Yanari.
Mhm.
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah, you're welcome, friend.
That was a pity. Oh, okay. It's okay,
The
Connor.
big thing is like the meta in itself is fairly healthy. Like with the nerfs to the Castellan, and I use nerf lightly because it really wasn't even that big of a nerf. It brings it in line with the rest of the meta, I think, which allows a lot of the meta to grow because people are going to tank more tanks now because tanks have better survivability if there's no Castellan on the table. And really the only other thing that was like stifling the meta was Yanari, which now is not. But that's where my problem is that now Yanari just aren't a thing at all, really. Or at least no one's figured out the sauce yet. Maybe it's out there. Maybe I'm just naysaying, but no one's figured out the sauce yet.
Connor's got it. He's working on it.
I don't. I don't have the sauce.
You'll figure it out, Connor.
The sauce is not. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about Inari. Yeah, I agree, man. They just totally murdered Inari. There's janky stuff that exists, but I think there's almost always a better alternative to a Unari detachment. Whether it's like witches or characters, I think most of the time it's better to just take those units like in their native detachment, be it like a Cursed Blade Witch Battalion or like a Craft World Supreme Command with characters. Like most of the time, they're just better as what they started as, with, and not getting the Inari keyword.
Right.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that still needs a leg up at this point is just Space Marines. The Space Marines are just still fucking terrible.
How scared are you of chaos right now?
I mean, Chaos is where it's always been. They've still... The only time that they weren't really at the top of the pile was when, like, the Castellan first came into its, like, being of everybody's playing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it was still strong.
Right.
I
We
mean, the
finally paid for our
tools,
3.5 cents. It's over, boys. We're back.
like all the tools for chaos were there.
Yeah.
Like there's some new things, there's some new hotness, there's some other cool stuff they can do, but it's not really new. It's just a different way.
You may have two fans of Don Hussein. Unabashedly.
I've been kind of quiet. Let me ask you this. Because you also like to punch things in the face and play aggressively, and control the middle of the board based on the way that you've just described your tournament win. I definitely feel like this edition of 40K in particular is forgiving to assault armies, and that it favors the aggressor a lot. Have you found that in liking that kind of style that you're rewarded more often than not for just being aggressive and taking control of sort of the middle of the board?
So I agree mostly with that. The biggest thing is I still feel like this is a shooting edition.
Oh yeah.
But having that aggressive mentality with a melee centric army, I mean, I don't know if there's really any other way to be successful with a melee centric army.
Right.
Because if you're waiting too long, you don't have control of the battlefield, and that means your shooting opponent's dictating the terms,
Right.
which you generally can't afford to do.
For sure.
But as far as like controlling the center of the battlefield with a melee centric army, like you have to, and
Right.
you have to understand the tricks. Like the
For sure.
combat phase is way more intensive in positioning and pre-thinking your moves than
Right.
I have a unit here and I shoot.
Right. For sure. For sure.
But I'm
Well, I
glad that
learned
you
a
like to
lot.
punch things too.
I like punching things. I don't like punching things. I like stomping things and hugging them.
Ugh, disgusting.
Don't me.
Ugh.
Knights have feelings too. Cold iron ones, but they have feelings, sir.
Ah,
That
man.
what do you foresee? I know it's that we're not even actually on the official previews yet and all that, but do you think Chaos Knights are gonna shake things up in time of Nova or
Hmm. I mean, there's definitely plenty of time for it to get rules before Nova, but they'll generally cut it off about a month ahead.
Right.
So, I think just from a total like Nostradamus trying to predict the future kind of dealy. I think Chaos Knights will definitely have some tricks. Like they already have, this one sweet stratagem of I would get to reroll all my misses, but it's not enough to make it even come close to the current Imperial Knights.
yeah?
So I think, that they'll get their gimme, as it were, to try and compare them to Imperial Knights. But I don't think it's going to be quite as over the top as when we first saw Knights was.
So the reason why I'm asking is I'm excited for them. I've actually been playing like combination of TJ Lanigan or Jim Vessel's list, explicitly learning the Plague Bearer, that kind of element. So I might be able to run them all together and have better screens than guard. But
I mean, Plague Bearers are the best screen in the game.
other than Palace, Grav tanks.
So Shane, why have you never run Knights? And if you have, I stand corrected. I don't know that I've ever seen you run, because that's like a pretty aggressive melee oriented unit.
Sure. I think I played Knights in a couple of just casual games. Just maybe like 2 since the book dropped, I think. But I don't know. I think so. I'll step back for a second. So before I started playing Custodes, I was like a ride or die Deathwatch player, and this was before it was anything.
Right. When we didn't have a codex.
Yeah. So I have been playing Deathwatch almost exclusively when they got their book in 7th, and did the best I could with that.
Right.
8th came out, and they were pretty much a dumpster fire.
Yep.
Um, And it was right after LVO that year that Custodes came out. And when I saw that, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try these. They look cool. I like the lore. Fuck it. Let's do this. And then it turned out it was really good. And my buddy Ivan, when he saw that I started to try and play Deathwatch again after they got a new codex, he's just like, why are you doing that? You're better with your Custodes. And that's when I realized that he was right and I was just being dumb.
That's fair.
One more question from the peanut gallery. I apologize. You
All
mentioned
good.
lore. How excited would you be to see Sisters of Silence get reworked and kind of like a town roll out?
I mean, I'll be happy to have anything that I can take alongside Custodes that's cheap at this point.
Fair enough.
I mean, plus Sisters of Silence add in the whole anti-psyker element, which is always nice, which, you know, Custodes are always concerned about.
Did you ever
But-
think about rolling in Sisters of Battle?
No.
Good answer. The cancer should die.
The biggest
All
problem
right,
I have adding anything in is just how easy is it to kill.
Yeah,
Right.
fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I've learned a lot, sir. Thank you very much. This has been awesome. Hopefully, we can get you on again sometime because I love talking. I've met you a couple in real life, and it's been nothing but awesome. Connor also doesn't shut up about you.
Yeah, Shane. I literally never for a second a day.
That's true.
Like, do you guys know Shane Wild?
Nick, I do. I added him on Facebook. Oh my god, I do.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate this time. We had a really solid, nice, long, solid episode. I think we had like 3 viewers the whole time. So thank you very much for sticking with us, guys, and for enjoying this time. And yeah, like you said, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, we'd love to have you on before, sort of see where your head's at, and I'll see you this weekend, man. For the hopefully we play and it's not terrible.
Do you have any like social media, or like does the team have a social media that you want to give a shout out to?
So we don't really have our own social media yet, but I will go ahead and plug Blood God Gaming has a Facebook group.
Okay.
A lot of the local Maryland area is on there. They have a lot of good people, good content.
Oh, very cool. I've been meaning to get up to Titan. I know they have. They're closer to me in Woodbridge. I've been looking.
Gotcha.
To get
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, appreciate it. Thank you again.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you all next week.
Remember, keep on climbing.
Keep on climbing, because you too can make top 16.
I'm going for top 2, please.
Top 2, bitches. What's up?
Dan's gonna be right under me.
All right, y'all have a good night.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Are we still alive?